Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
John was standing with two of his disciples as he watched Jesus walk by. "Behold the Lamb of God," he said. The two disciples heard what he said and followed Jesus. Jesus turned and saw them following him and said to them, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which translated means teacher, "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come, and you will see." So they went and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day. It was about 4 p.m. Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one of the two who heard John and followed Jesus. He first found his own brother, Simon, and told him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated Christ. Then he brought him to Jesus, and Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, the son of John. You will be called Cephas," which is translated Peter. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It is interesting how John, the Gospel writer, is very careful to translate for his audience the Hebrew or Aramaic terms that he uses. But that translation was into Greek, and that, with the exception of teacher, that doesn't help us very much, because we have found the Messiah, which is translated the Anointed One. And you will be called Cephas, which is translated rock. So that's one little incidental thing that we need to kind of pay attention to when we're reading the scriptures. We are always reading a translation. And sometimes we do have to get behind that translation. That having been said, one of the things that John, the gospel writer, does is engage us deeply, in a way that none of the others do, into the midst of the action of what is happening. And we see in this call of disciples a very different story than what is told in the other Gospels about Peter and Andrew. And Andrew, at least, was a follower of John the Baptist. And then, at the word of John the Baptist, "Look, the Lamb of God," he follows Jesus. And "Where are you staying? Come and see." And it was in coming and seeing, the movement of faith, the movement of coming to faith, that he then becomes an apostle, goes to his brother, Simon, and says, "We have found the Anointed One." And then he brought him to Jesus. A movement, again, faith, bringing forth faith. And then the words that struck me, the first thing it says is, Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, the son of John. You will be called Cephas," the rock. Now, it's in the looking, as our current Holy Father says so eloquently in his own model, it is in the looking that the transformation happened. That Jesus looks with love and then invites one to be transformed by him. In the story of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, which I think we are all familiar with and we don't have to rehash, she found Jesus looking at her with love in the strangest place of all, Italy. for a good Anglican. And that was irresistible. So irresistible that she was willing to give up everything to follow Jesus in his way in the Catholic Church. She certainly gave up respectability, and she gave up a comfortable life as well as worldly possessions. And yet that opened her to allow God to work through her, and the wonderful work that she accomplished here in the early days, still early days, of our own country. A work that in many ways, by the way, you folks follow. So, making the Lord present to those who are hungry.